Hey guys, this is Lori with Ellen's Crafty Creations, and I have a new project to share with you. This album was created using the Doodlebug So Punny collection, and it is a Valentine's collection, but you don't have to use it for a Valentine's collection, really. I mean, even though it is, I think it'd be a cute album with just your kids' pictures in it or just whatever you want. And I'm in love with it. So I did actually two albums, and so let me give you a sneak peek. Two albums. So they're both 7 by 7, and I forgot how big the spine was. And my measurements are over there. So let me just measure quick. About 2 inches on the spine. They each have 3 pages. I'm going to show you this album first, and then we're going to do the tutorial on this one, and then I'll do a separate video for this album and a tutorial on this one as well. And if you want, you can combine the two to make one full-size larger album, which is what I'm going to do using my Raining Cats and Dogs papers. So stay tuned for that. So let's put this one to the side. I just wanted to let you know that there's another one coming. And on the front cover here, what I've done is I've just layered some cardstock, added some seam binding. This is the denim paper that I love to use in both of these places, and this is just a cut apart from the collection. I used glossy accents on every single one of my cut aparts. You can see there where it's glossy, and that took forever for everything to dry, but worth it. And then there's my spine with the denim, and then there's the back with a cute border strip paper. I always like to do a really busy pattern on the back because it's just cute. And I like to use plainer papers that I'm going to put my photos on the inside of the album. So let's get into this one. Again, the album is 7 by 7. On the inside, I did a acetate pocket here that I love to do. And I added this cut apart, and it's actually functional. This flap right here was getting stuck on the pockets, so I created this little booklet here and put it over here, and it stops that from happening. So if you want, you could make the pocket just a little bit taller, but I think this looks cute, so I kept it that way. And so let me take all this out. So there's my acetate. I did do paper around the pocket, and then I love this cute paper here. And then I did lots of booklets, and I decorated them in this album. So this one is about 5 by 6. And again, I did my glossy accents. This is a cut apart from the collection. And on the inside, I just decorated the strips of where I measured the photo, like where your photo would go, like right here. Of course, this is a 4 by 6, so you'd have to trim it at the top just a little bit. And then I just added decorative paper on the side. And I liked that look. And it just ripped. Look at that. Like just now, literally. I wonder why it ripped. Strange. Okay, anyway. So there's that. On this side, I have a little magnetic closure here, and it flips down. And if you're familiar with watching my videos, I don't put paper where I'm going to put a photo, where I know I'm going to put a photo. And here, I would definitely, I need to zoom out just a little bit, don't I? I would definitely put photos here. And this will hold 4 by 4s. And then I have lots of swing tabs in these albums, so those swing. And then this opens both ways, so you have a nice space to put your photos. And then I put some ephemera pieces here, some enamel dots. I layered the paper, and then again I have the cut aparts that are plain on the back with the glossy accents on them. Super cute. And this closes like this. And then in all the pockets, for the album, what I did is instead of creating the larger pockets on the inside, I did full open flaps. So normally you would see these would be closed and your insert would be here. Well, instead I did pockets on the side of the album. So I've created these booklets. They're all different sizes, and this one, like this part measures 5 3/4, and then the back part is 6 3/4. So I just took a 12-inch piece of cardstock and scored it at 5 3/4 to create the booklet. And then I did little strips of decorative paper. You could add ephemera pieces on here to decorate a little more if you wanted to. And then these are where my photos would go. And I did all the booklets the same, but I'll show them all to you because I'll decorate it differently. So again, there's my inside, just a large spread, and I did leave this open so you could tuck your photos behind there or whatever you wanted to do. Again, enamel dots here and on the sides. This flips. On this page, I have my booklet again. This one has a cut apart, some enamel dots, and again my strips of paper. This time I added the little pieces of ephemera. That one says "Lime Yours." Really cute sayings in this collection. And then I did this strip here on the pocket. Swing tab again, flips down, which this would be a good space for journaling. And then it flips up one time here, and so you have a large space at the top and there. And then of course it flips again. Again, a large space. This is left open. And then I have this cute, this one says, "Can I take you out?" And this is left open too, where you could tuck your photo behind it. So really cute spaces there. And I just love the booklets. So on this side, I added a couple of pieces of ephemera. I cut this from one of the cut aparts and stuck it there, and then added some enamel dots. This swings, again another swing tab, and these are like, I think 5 by 5 or something like that, and they flip and flip, and then you have a large space here to put like a 5 by 7 if you want. So I like to do it like this. And then here, another booklet. I did use some Bo Bunny double dot paper here, and then I have some enamel dots, and again just strips of paper, and then this one I decorated with some ephemera here. You're terrific. Cute sayings on this one. And again, this one opens fully, and you have 2 large spaces for photos. I added some more of my enamel dots right there. Flip it, and here I have a seam binding closure. There is a booklet here again. This one's a little bit smaller. I sew to think you're cute, and then I, again, glossy accents, and then I did my strips of paper here at the bottom. And on the end of my ribbons, we were talking about this, there was a post on the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations Facebook page where someone had asked how they, people stop their seam binding from fraying. There was several suggestions made on that, and one of them was using the cardstock and covering it with glossy accents on both sides, so that's what I've done here and on this side as well. So I've tried different things with this album. So that opens, and then this one flips this way, and then again this way, and then it flips up 2 more times, and then you have a large space there. These close, and then it all comes together. And there you go. Keeps it nice and tidy. On this side, I put a cut apart here from the collection. This is kind of like a booklet, and it opens this way with my seam binding again. This is the seam binding that's new to Tamara's shop, that it's this green color. It's really cute, like Kelly green. And then I have a pocket here, and then just a 4 by 6 or 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mat. And then you have several flaps here for portrait photos, and then another one in this pocket. And then once you close this and tie it up, you have another booklet in the other pocket right here. I love you no matter what. And then there's the inside. My booklet's warped a lot because of the glossy accents, so not cool. But you know, if I play with them a little bit, they straighten out. So then this page also has a large space for photos right here, and I left these open, I think. Yeah, I did, where you could tuck your photos behind this area if you want to. And then this closes. This is interesting. It was kind of a fail, but also a win, because you can see like here and here, my closure, they're not even. So this closure was an afterthought. I meant to put a magnet here. I already had paper here and I'd forgotten. And so what I ended up doing is coming, before I put the pages on the binding, is setting eyelets and setting my elastic on here after my paper was on here. So that was really interesting. Don't do that, by the way. If you want this closure, then do it before you add this pocket onto the page, because it's super much more easier that way. So, but you would have to add your pattern paper first. And I have little stuff all over here. So when I use the Tim Holtz black soot, I find that I get black all over my paper. I need to keep little wipies next to me. Sorry, sidetracked. So here's the little booklet here. 3x4 cut apart, and then on the inside I did my little strips of paper. So the way the closure works, this is a pocket that I don't have anything in, and then I did some ephemera here. This just lifts up this way, and then I have 2 spaces for photo here. Don't go bacon, my heart. And then it flips this way, and then there's just a space for a photo there, and then you just take this and slap it over that. And I really like the way that turned out, and it doesn't move at all. You know, it stays really well. On this side, I don't know what like a corset binding has to do with waffles, but I thought it looked cute, so that's what I did. I had a strip of this denim paper left. This is a booklet and it flips open, so you would put 2 photos there, and it's magnetized. So I thought that turned out really cute. So there is one of my Doodlebug So Punny albums, and let's go into the tutorial. So let me clear my workspace, and I have to have this book with me for reference, otherwise I won't know what I'm doing. Which half the time I don't know what I'm doing anyway. Okay, here are my pages. Let me get my little booklet out that I write all of my secret notes in. Just kidding. All my measurements, I write them down here and then I type them up later. So here we go. Where's my bone folder? It has disappeared. I put it somewhere. I think it's in this bag. Sorry, I was working on my Craftology box project and I put everything away, including my tools. So, here we go. Now, let's talk about the base pages. So there's 3 pages total in the album, and I've already made 2 of the base pages, and I'm going to make one with you guys. So here, album 1. So you're going to need 3 pieces cut at 7 inches by 7 inches, and then you're going to need 3 pieces cut by 7 inches by 7.5 inches, and you're going to score on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. And let's just start with those. So I'm going to fold on this score line, and I'm going to add that to here. So I apologize for the black cardstock. I try to do brown normally, but I'm actually going to be making these. I'm actually going to be making this into a book this time. So normally I just do throwaway cardstock for this, but not this time. So I'm going to add this here. Okay. So when you open this is going to give you that large space for photos. I used too much glue. If you don't want this and you want like a pocket instead, you could just add score tape or glue on this side and just glue it down. and then you have a solid pocket. That's up to you. Now, the pocket on each base page is the same, so you're going to want to cut 3 of these at 8 inches by 6.5 inches. Score on the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. And then I'm going to miter my corners right across here. And then I'm going to fold on everything. Oops. Give it a good crease. And this is your opening here, so you're going to put it on this side with the pocket opening up here. So I'm going to add my glue, and I'm using art glitter glue for those of you who aren't familiar. It's my favorite glue for my albums. I use it for all of them. And I'm going to line this up carefully but quickly because art glitter glue dries fast. So you're going to line it up on the left-hand side of the page. Okay. So there's your first pocket, and now we're going to do the binding pocket. So flip this page assembly over to the back, and then you're going to need to cut 3 of these pieces at 8 inches by 6 inches. Score on the 8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then fold on those score lines. Give it a good crease, and I'm going to add it right here. And this is the one, the pocket that you will use to attach it to the hinges of your book. And again, I'm just lining this one up. This time it's on the right side. And make sure everything's perfect. Okay. So when you're done, you'll have this solid pocket here, and then it will open. You'll have 2 large spaces there, and then it closes, and then you have the binding pocket that is open on each end right there. Okay, so let's start with page 1. So for page 1, the little booklet you make, you're going to have to add this to your page last after you've already added paper to it, so I'll go ahead and give you the measurements. This little booklet you cut at 10.5 inches by 4 1/4 and score on the 10.5 inch side at 2 inches and then at 6 1/4, and then just fold on those score lines. And there's your little booklet. I added a magnet here and here, and that's what kept mine closed, and I did a little decorative edge on mine as well. So there's that. And then this one is super easy. If I can remember which flap goes first. The larger flap goes first. So this flap is cut at 5.5 by 7. Let me give you a quick tip. When you're cutting all of this, so cut your base pages first. All the pieces you need for your base pages first. These pieces are extra. They're going to attach to all your base pages. So you're going to have 3 base pages that look exactly like this with the pockets and everything. And then we'll add everything else. For the you should use 1 pack of cardstock if you do both albums. I used only 1 pack of cardstock. And then the flaps that go on the pages, I use the scraps from making this. So sometimes you have to cut into a new sheet, but I think I only use 1 pack of cardstock. But for the most part, everything's like used from cutting these base pages. I hope that makes sense. So this one's cut at 5.5 by 7, scoring the 5.5-inch side at 1/2 inch. And then you're going to need to miter your corners here because we're going to tuck it in this pocket. And I'm going to add glue on the inside this time. And I'm going to add it right on the inside. The page assemblies you'll find are pretty simple, not too difficult. And then this one is cut to 5 inches by 7 inches, and you score on the 5-inch side at 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and fold on that one. And then this one, you won't need to miter the corners, but you will have to put the glue on this side of the hinge. I'm going to open this one up, and I'm going to stick it right on top here. So there's your flaps. This one, you're going to use a pocket, and the pocket's cut to 8 inches by 4 inches. Score on the 4-inch side at 1/2 inch, and on the 8-inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and miter your corners. Fold on all of your score lines. I'm going to add my glue. Whoops, whoops. I'm making a mess with the glue. I just refilled this bottle, so it's really full. So I'm really just making a mess. Now you're going to put it on this flap, and you're going to be careful and make sure that you get it far enough away from the score line. So I'm leaving about, I don't know, not quite 1/8 of an inch away from the score line. Because if you don't keep it away from the score line, this flap will not close properly. And I'll show you an up close of that in just a second. So I've added my pocket, and you can see where my score line is right here, and then my pocket is just slightly away from that. And I've got glue everywhere as usual. I'm a messy crafter. So this one folds this way and then this way, and I use swing tabs, and then I put my booklet on the front cover just like that. So I'm going to tuck this booklet in this pocket right here, and I'm going to flip this over. Excuse me. So this is what I'm calling page 1, is the front of this, and when you flip it over, this is now going to be page 2. So for page 2, it's super easy. You're going to cut 2 pieces at 5.5 inches by 7 inches and score on the 7-inch side at 1/2 inch. And you're going to fold on these and add them right at the top, centered in the middle. Now to do that, I'm going to flip my page over so I can center it here. So I'm going to add my glue right here. And I'm going to center it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get it as perfect as you can. Oops. And I always get glue somewhere that it shouldn't be, but thankfully it'll be covered up with paper. And then we're going to add the second flap right on top of that. Make sure that they're perfectly even with each other. Now I'm going to flip this over, so now I have one flap and then my second flap. And I'm going to fold this one. This one you cut at 2.5 inches by 5.5. Score on the 2.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. And then fold. And you're going to add glue right here. And you're going to line it up with those flaps that we just placed down, making sure you don't glue on top of them. But you want to get it perfectly even with those right at the bottom of the page. So here's my closure right here, and then the two flaps that open. And again, I used a swing tab right here. You could use a magnet if you want to. So there is page 2 done. So let's move on to grab another base page that you should have already created with your pocket on the front. On the front should have the pocket that is closed, and the binding pocket is on the back. So on the front, we're doing page 3. And which page is this? Oh yeah. So you're going to cut 4 of these flaps at 5 inches by 5.5 and score on the 5.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. And then you're going to fold on all of those. And again, this one's super easy. So we're going to take our first one. And I wonder, let's see. Let me just look at something quick. Yeah, I did. Okay. Sometimes I have to remind myself how I make these. So what we're going to do, we're going to add glue to the bottom of the hinge for the first one, the outside. And you're going to line it up here in the middle of the page and stick it down. I think I'm not quite lined up. Inch, should have about 1 inch on each side. When I'm really taking my time, I actually measure and mark it and then do it correctly, but you know, I get in a hurry. For this one, you're going to add your glue on the inside of the flap. For the next one, you're going to line it up perfectly with this flap here, and you're going to tuck it on the inside of the pocket and stick it down. So now we have 2 flaps, and then you're just going to add these flaps on top of each one. So add your glue to the outside of the hinge and stick it right on the top of the first one, and just make sure it lines up perfectly. This one's easy to do since there's already one there for our guide. Flip both of these over, take your other one, add your glue, and put the second one right on top of the one on the right side. And there we go. Just clean up my mess. So the way I close it is this way, this way, this way, and this way, and then I put a swing tab here, but you could again use a magnet or even a ribbon seam binding tie or something like that. So flip this one over. Now we're going to move on to page 4. And this one, again, super easy. You're going to cut 4 pieces at 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. Score on the 6 1/2 inch side at 1/2 inch, and go ahead and fold on those score lines. Whoops. And this one is similar to the one we just did. And again, let me check my work here, what I did, if I put them directly on there, or for the next video I'll try to be more prepared. Yeah, I put it directly on there instead of inside the pocket. Okay. So, you're gonna take this one, add your glue, and I put it right directly on top, lining it up with the very top of this pocket. Which actually might have been better to put it on the inside. I wonder if I did that. No, I didn't. Okay. Good. I'm glad I did it right the first time. Now take your other one and let's go ahead and just put that one directly on the top of this one, the one you just put down. Okay. And then, let's see. I wonder if I should do it differently this time. No, I don't think so. So, what you're going to do, again, put your glue on the bottom of the hinge. And I like to keep these closed and kind of tuck it underneath here and then glue it down. Just so I know that everything's going to line up appropriately, if that makes sense, so that the pages will fit together. Because you'll see there's just a little bit over here hanging over, you know, of this one. And that way I know everything's going to fold together nicely. And then you're just going to put the other one right on top of that. Whoops. So what I did, so here's one flap, two flaps, and then the other two. So by doing that, when you shut this, see how it's keeping, you probably can't see. It's just, this flap is just a tiny bit away from this score line here, and that's what will make it all fold together nicely. And then what I did, before I added my pattern paper here, I added some seam binding right here, and then when I close it, then it ties over these two pages. So that's it for page 4. So grab another base page, and we're going to move on to page 5, and then can you believe it, we only have 2 more to go and we're done. So this one is the booklet, so it's a little bit more complicated. Cut this piece to 6 1/4 by 7 inches. Score on the 6 1/4 inch side at 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. And then fold on those score lines. I like to fold on the 3/4 of an inch one first, and then the 1/2 inch. So you'll have a good size gusset on this one that'll look like that. So you're going to add your glue right here on the 1/2 inch part. And stick it down. Now I'm laying the 1/4 inch gusset flat right now. And now I'm going to open it up. And then we'll put our pockets on here. And again, I have to check my work. So I'm going to add Oh, I added the flaps and then the pockets, so that's what we'll do. So cut 4 flaps to 4 3/4 by 6 1/4 and go ahead and fold on those score lines. Oops. And for all 4 of them. So take your first one and add your glue on the outside of the hinge. And you're going to add it right before this for the score line for the 1/4 inch gusset. So can you see that? I added it right before the score line here of the 1/4 inch gusset. And then this is where we attach this page to here. Hope that makes sense. Now all you're going to do is take this one and then just glue it on top of the one you just glued down. So that way we have like a little booklet going on here. Okay, and then for your next one, let me get some of the gunk off my glue. Again, we're going to add our glue here. And this time you're going to add it to the other side of that 1/4 inch gusset at the bottom of the page, right before the score line. And you're going to do the same to the next one. You're going to add it right on top. Okay, now we're going to add our pockets. So flip these flaps over. We're going to add our first pocket here. So you're going to need 2 pockets cut at 8 inches by 4 1/2 inches. You're going to score on the 8-inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 4 1/2 inch side at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm mitering my corners, and I'm going to just do that for each one. And I'm going to move this out of the way quick. I'm going to go ahead and fold on all of these. Sometimes if I use the edge of this, I get a better fold. Same for this. Okay. So now I've got my booklet. I'm going to add my glue. And it's going to be a side pocket, so I'm going to make sure and stay away from the score line for this flap and stick it down. Whoops. Knocking stuff around. So that pocket's done, and then we're going to flip our little flaps over, and we're going to add the other pocket on the other side. Again, make sure you stay away from the score line of this flap and stick it down. So now you have a pocket here and then a side pocket here as well. Okay, and then I did the seam binding closure here that you can do if you like. So your gusset should give you plenty of room to add photos and booklets or whatever you want to do. Okay, so there's page 5. Flip this over and now let's do our final page 6 here. And this one we're going to add, let's put this to the side actually and put these two flaps together. So you're going to need to cut 2 flaps at 6.5 inches by 5 inches, and you're going to score on the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. Go ahead and fold on this one, and then fold on the other one, and we're going to add these together. So you're going to add glue on the inside of this, and stick it right on top. So my hinge is on this side, and I'm going to stick this one on top. So we have a little accordion flap here. Okay, now we're going to take this assembly and then put glue on the inside right here. And stick it on the inside of this pocket. And just make sure you get it even. It should be about 1 inch on each side, just like the other one we did previously. So this will fold out this way, and this will fold out this way. Now again, if you wanted to do the elastic closure, I would recommend doing it before you even add this pocket here on the very bottom of the base page, the binding pocket. So I would suggest covering this one with paper and then adding your little closure and then gluing it all down. That would be the easiest way to do it, because it was difficult getting my eyelets set here and here. That's why they were off. With it already stuck down, I was trying to put my crocodile inside that little tiny pocket, and it just wasn't happening. I mean, obviously I made it work, but it didn't. It was hard. It was difficult. So now cut 1 pocket for this flap at 5 inches by 6 inches and score on the 5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. And then miter your corners. And let's go ahead and fold on everything. Now I originally intended to use magnets on this page, and since I messed up, I had to think of some other closure, which I really liked how the closure came out. So we're going to add our glue here. And stick it down right on top. Whoops, it's not. You want to line it up all the way to the end of the flap. And your opening is going to be on this side. Okay. Alright, so there it opens that way, 2 spaces for photos there, closes, and then opens this way, a space for a photo there and there. And then whatever you put in the pocket. So there you go, guys. I've also included all the measurements for the booklets that I created for this album in the comments down below, as well as all measurements for the flaps and the base pages and everything, just like I always do. What else can I tell you? Oh, I will say that the front cover pocket is which I just did one. You could do one on both sides if you wanted to, on the front and the back. But it's the length of it is going to depend on what size your front cover is. So, and that depends on what size bindings, what binding system you use. So I can give you what I used as far as the measurements for my pocket, but yours may be different, especially if you just use just the hidden hinge binding. So my pocket measures 8 7/8 by 4 1/4, and I scored on the 8 7/8 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then on the 4 1/4 side at 1/2 inch. Now, if your cover is different, how you measure for this for a pocket is what I do is I just measure. So this is where my cover is right here. My chipboard ends right here. So I put my ruler down right here. And so this is, mine is technically 8 inches across because of my binding system is different. So what I would do is I move my ruler over 1/8 of an inch. So this is 7 7/8 is what this measures, just to give me a little space away from this like score line, if you will, or gusset. And then I measure, I count 1 inch away from that, which would be 8 7/8. That's how I get that measurement. And how tall you make it depends on you. Just remember that you're going to make it cut it a 1/2 inch longer to allow for your hinge. So if you want your pocket to be 4 1/4, you're going to need, or mine's 4 1/4, right? Isn't that what I said? Yeah. So because mine's 4 1/4, the pocket length that it comes up to here is 3 3/4. So I had to add 1/2 inch, which is where I get my measurement 4 1/4, because that's what I'm going to score at 1/2 inch on the 4 1/4 inch side. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It sounded confusing to me, so hopefully not to you guys. But that's the best way I know how to explain it. So that's it. Measurements for the binding, and there you go. There is my Doodlebug So Punny album. I call it the I Love You Watts and Watts album because obviously the cut apart. I use this cut apart because my husband loves it because he's an electrician, so this was his favorite. So I did the cover of the book for him. So I'm going to have, like I said, a second album that I showed you earlier that I'm going to have a tutorial on it as well. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.